Here's an important question to help us as we begin today. Where did God create the Garden of Eden, in which Adam and Eve lived in innocence, however briefly? Well, it's a trick question, or rather it's tricky if we're not already presupposing the Bible, if we're not basing all our thinking on what God has revealed to us in His Word. The answer is that due to the global flood, it's now impossible to locate where the Garden of Eden was. Many claim, or they can figure it out, but that's basing their thinking not on the Scriptures, but on other false assumptions about the past. Adam and Eve briefly lived in innocence in the Garden of Eden, and that garden has been, the entire earth has been completely transformed by the global flood, so that we would never be able to tell where that garden was originally located. And Adam and Eve, as we know in the garden, were tempted by Satan in the form of a serpent and fell, and all of the created universe fell with them. But if it's true that we cannot know where on earth Eden was located, why then are there two rivers in Mesopotamia, in modern Syria and Iraq, that have the same names as two of the four rivers that once flowed out of the Garden of Eden? Because that's where people usually attempt to say, well, we know where the Tigris and Euphrates rivers are. They're named in Genesis chapters 1 and 2. So can't we locate Eden on that basis? Well, why would there be two rivers after the global flood that have two of the four names of the four rivers that once flowed out of the Garden of Eden in the pre-flood earth? Well, the answer is the same reason there's a London in Ontario and that there's a York or New York City in New York State in the United States. That is, when Noah and his family left the ark, we know quite well where the ark came to rest, by the way. They evidently named those two rivers that flow from the feet of the Ararat mountain range after two rivers that they had known from the first earth God created. Adam and Eve, Noah and his wife and his three sons and their wives, the 8 people, the only 8 people that survived the global flood, knew a completely different earth than we know today. And they evidently were familiar with the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, which is not unexpected. And they evidently named two of the rivers of the earth that we know today after those two former rivers from that former earth that was destroyed by the global flood. And you can see the little blue arc that marks where the ark came to rest on the map here, probably on Mount Tendurik in the Ararat mountain range. The Bible tells us that the ark came to rest in the mountains of Ararat, or Urartu, and we know where that is, historically and geographically. And, the great Ron Wyatt, people have taken issue with some of his claims and discoveries, but I think his work on identifying the location of the ark is by far the best candidate. I personally prefer the site that he identified as the location, and so that's where we've placed it here. It's the oldest possible artifact of any human civilization on Earth because it's the first thing built by a human being that existed on the post-flood world. And so it's an amazing thing. This is the earliest possible human artifact, and it evidently is to be found there on Mount Tendurik in the mountains of Ararat. So we know that region. It's now easternmost Turkey on the border with Armenia. And notice that it's right near the source of the Tigris River and not far from the source of the Euphrates River. It would seem that Noah and his family followed the rivers southwest as they journeyed from the ark, which makes sense and is consistent with what we read about concerning the building of the city and Tower of Babel soon after. As usual, the evidence affirms the accuracy of God's word. Here on this map, we can see where the ark's landing site is in relation to the current national borders. You can see it's in easternmost Turkey there.